Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel by the Most High. Jacob, meaning supplanter or usurper, um, Cunnian. He changed his name to Israel, which means as a prince that strive with both with men and with the Most High and prevails, or also means Yah prevails. He changed his name in order to um, that would guide his his destiny. So Jacob was a twin brother to Esau. They were both sons of Isaac, and Isaac was the son of Abraham. Abraham is a descendant of Eber, and Eber is a descendant of Shem. You could find this genealogy in Genesis chapter 10 and also Genesis 11. Um, from the lineage of Shem leading to Abraham. So Jacob, who was a twin brother to his brother Esau, right? Esau was known to be a hunter, grew up being a hunter, and he was closer to his mother and assisting with the house, housely duties, right? And it came to a point where, as Isaac was getting older, his father, dear father, was ready to bless, and he, with the support of his mom, tricked the father's, and took the blessing of his brother. And prior to that, the brother sold his birthright. He didn't see it as a big deal, right? However, this was all the doing of the Most High. Okay, and so when the brother found out that he took on his blessings, his brother Esau was so mad at him and was willing to kill him, and he had to flee out of the house. Being warned by by his mom to get out of the house. His brother was full of anger and rage and was ready to kill him, so he had to leave. So he left. As he left, he told him to go live with his uncle, Rebecca's brother, named Laban. And Laban, he was very established. He had a farm of livestock, and then but prior to that, him meeting Laban, he came across with his waters, and one of the daughter of Laban was going. She was a shepherdess to go fetch water, similar to what happened to his father Isaac. She was fetching for water, and her beauty caught his eye, and pretty much he gave jewelry, and wanted to go meet her father. It was according to the custom to, if you were interested in a woman, you have to meet your father, give dowry, right? So she came and introduced him to the father, Laban, and they had a discussion, and he told him what family he was from, that he was, the son of Isaac, and also of Rebecca, and Rebecca being related to Laban. And he said, "Wow, this is my family member here." Right? And so they got close. He invited him to the house. They ate some food, and he asked for the daughter Rachel, who was the shepherdess, in marriage. And Laban said, you would have to, pretty much wanted to see what we offer him, and he was willing to. He didn't have any money or inheritance. He was willing to work, for at least 7 years for her. in which he did. He worked for 7 years being a shepherd, taking care of Laban's cattle and sheep, goats, for 7 years. And when it came to that seventh year and it's time to marry her, Laban was cunning and tricked him, saying, it's not so according to custom that you marry the younger. Rachel has an older sister, is not married yet, and it's not right for her to be married before the younger sister. So um, he encouraged her, to for Jacob to marry her, but Jacob didn't want to marry her, right? So, anyways, it came to nighttime. He acted as if he was giving in to what Jacob requests, which was just Rachel, and allow, you know, uh, Leah, the older sister, to go lay in the bed. And when it's time for, he was thinking that he was about to, meet with Rachel, all of these years, and not knowing that, he was with um, Leah until morning time when he actually get to see that it was a different woman altogether. And he was like so upset that Laban has tricked him, and he came to him and said, "What happened?" Um, and Laban explained to him like, "Yeah, it's not right for according to custom for to give the younger first, and without the older being married, right?" And so he was so upset, and so he says, you have to work at least 7 more years to get Rachel now. So he did that. So 14 years, right? And then eventually he was able to marry Rachel. However, down the road, they realized, Rachel was barren. She couldn't give children. And Leah was very fertile. And there were friction between the two sisters. Yes, there was, instance within that time, um, and especially growing the population, you know. But yeah, so friction between and jealousy, and competition, and Leah was, she was very fertile, and she gave Jacob, it was a total of what, 6 sons, right? And then they had a daughter together. So she gave him about 7 children by her own. At this time, of course, Rachel was still barren. So Rachel allowed Jacob to marry one of her female servants named Bilhah. Um, and Bilhah, she, got married to Jacob and gave 2 sons. Okay. Um, so going back to Rachel's sons, starting with the firstborn, Reuben, as Levi, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, right? And as Issachar, Zebulon, and their daughter, Dinah, right? And Bilhah who was Rachel's female servant. She became a wife to Jacob because she was barren. She wanted to have children through her female servant. So Bilhah had Naphtali and Dan. And then Leah, after having 7 children, couldn't have any more. So she allowed Jacob to marry her female servant named Zilpah. And she gave birth to um, Asher and Gad, right? And then eventually the Most High, saw the sorrow of Rachel and mercy and prayer, and opened her womb, so she was able to give birth to Joseph and Benjamin. And going back to Zilpah, it was Gad and then Asher. All right. Okay, so a total of 12 sons altogether is Jacob's children, and then one daughter, Dinah, right? It's 13 children altogether and 12 sons. And out of those 12 sons, it's popularly known as the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so that's Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Zebulon, Issachar, right? Gad, Asher, Dan, Naphtali, and Joseph and Benjamin. And Joseph also had the two sons. You know, the tribes are also split within those two sons that come from Joseph, which was Manasseh and Ephraim. Okay, so yeah, so there's the 12 tribes of Israel come from, you know, Jacob, from his 4 wives, Leah, Rachel, okay, Zilpah and Bilhah, and then they have 12 sons and a daughter. Okay, so altogether, there's this family tree. So, and through his lineage, through Jacob, we know the Messiah come from that lineage, especially from Judah, one of his sons, the 4th son, through Leah. You know, the Messiah comes from that tribe, the lineage of Judah. And through him, he's that bridge that unites everybody who believes in him. Whether your race, you know, you're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. You believe in him and God has commandments. You're part of Israel. And Israel is not only a nation, but it's more of like a kingdom and establishment that he has established here on earth. And whoever decides to follow his laws, his customs, his ways, and guard their faith in the Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus Christ, they're also Israel as well. One of my favorite scripture, Isaiah 45, verse 17. Israel shall be saved with an everlasting salvation. It should not be ashamed nor confounded, a world without end. Thank y'all for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Shalom. Bless y'all.